Blog Talk Radio.
Rising up, back on the street, did my time, took my chances.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Franchise Interviews, Asking the Entrepreneur Who Owns One. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, with my co-host, Don Johnson. And if you've ever dreamed about owning your own business, then this is the show to listen to. And today's guest is Todd Evans, Vice President of Franchising for Aaron's Sales and Lease Franchise Opportunity. And Aaron's is a New York Stock Exchange-listed company and ranked number 58 among franchise chains in worldwide sales. And Aaron's is reinventing the way a growing and underserved market acquires furniture, electronics, appliances, and computers. And Don, I think I was up. Todd, one of the most important things in business, I guess, is a competitive advantage. What are Aaron's competitive advantages?
I think we have three big competitive advantages at the unit level, at the store level. Mm-hmm. One, our stores are about two-thirds larger than our primary competitors' stores out there. Which means we carry a larger selection of merchandise. We just have more big-ticket consumer durable goods to choose from than our competitors do. So selection, I think, is hugely important in the Aaron's program. The second advantage that we have is price. The final cost to acquire ownership of a product at Aaron's is about a third less than the final cost of ownership through our competitors. And then the third big advantage that we have is we have what we call a kinder, gentler back end. We have a program that works with customers who, for whatever reason, fall behind on their payment plans, and we're not very, very quick to go out there and pick that merchandise up. If the customer's intent is to acquire ownership of that product, we want to do everything in our power to ensure that they do just that. So I think those are the three big competitive advantages that we have over our competitors at the unit level.
Especially price, a third less. That's huge.
Well, it is. I mean, you think about it. I mean, Walmart beat Kmart, by 2 cents on a tube of toothpaste, and Kmart's knees kind of buckled under that pressure, and our prices are just significantly cheaper than our competitors out there, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're growing as quickly as we are.
Right, absolutely, and I think the variety is important too, Todd. Have any of your franchisees ever made recommendations as far as like what products you should carry? There's a great story with the fillet of fish was, I guess, created by a McDonald's franchisee. So, do any of your franchisees ever make suggestions as far as like what products should be carried?
They do. We have 452 franchise stores open at this hour, and we have a program called the Aaron's Management Team, and we meet basically 3 times a year with some of our company operational VPs and 8 of our top-performing franchisees. And we all come together and sit down for a day and shut the door and debate various issues out there, such as pricing, product selection, ways that we can improve our stores and make more money or save more money. So our franchisees are very, very involved in the strategic direction that we're moving the company in.
That's interesting. Yeah. What are the advantages, Todd, and disadvantages of a franchise or operating company?
Well, I guess the biggest advantage, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, is we have a lot of company stores out there. At this hour, we have 876 company stores open. So one of the things that we know extremely well is how to run these stores.
Right.
So if a franchisee calls with a question about anything, odds are we've already been down that road.
Right.
We've probably already made some of those mistakes. And I think the fact that we are, just a bunch of grubby old day-to-day unit-level operators here is a huge advantage to our franchisees. I would say probably one of the disadvantages is territory. You can't always get the territory you want because we have company stores in that market, or we have designated company stores for that market. But I think the biggest advantage is the exit strategy. Aaron's fortunately has a Rock of Gibraltar balance sheet. We have over $600 million in equity on the balance sheet, and if a franchisee ever wants to depart the system, although there's no guarantee that Aaron's will buy you back because that would represent a contingent liability on our balance sheet, we certainly have a strong history of doing that. So if you can imagine having a business that you have a purchaser that is, ready, willing, and able to take you out in as little as 30 days when you decide, hey, I'm out, I want to retire.
Right.
I think that is a huge advantage right there.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is impressive, over 800 corporate stores. I'd give the potential franchisee a lot of confidence. Not only are there over 400 franchisees, but with that type of financial strength, that many total stores altogether, it must, it's a major selling point. The next thing I wanted to ask you, Todd, is you mentioned before you feel Aaron's is the best. Why should someone consider Aaron's over, say, a different franchise, say, for example, a food franchise?
I think primarily return on investment. I think people become a franchisee for one reason, and that's to make money. And this is just my opinion. And everybody has, in the franchising industry, have different thoughts on this. Some talk about, be your own boss, the pride of ownership, and I think all of those things are partially true. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, people want to get a return on their effort. They want to work hard, and they want to get a return on that. And if you just take a look at the return on investment with an Aaron's franchise, the numbers are very, very strong.
Right.
And we actually have an earnings claim in our disclosure document.
Right. Something I wanted to ask you, Joe. Yeah. Because a lot of Todd, a lot of franchises don't really make an earnings claim. Don and I have looked at a lot of UFOC agreements, and not many of them have that information in there. So I think it's interesting that you guys include that.
We have a very, very comprehensive earnings claim, and with the number of stores that we have out there, the earnings claim that we have prepared and put together in our disclosure document is a statistically valid earnings claim.
Right.
And I think that's something that a prospective franchisee wants to know. Hey,
right.
How do your stores do out there? And right out of our earnings claim, our mathematical average mature Aaron's store will do a little over $1,390,000 in top-line revenues on an annual basis, and make a little over $165,000 in pre-tax profit, and assuming no financing, we'll make a little over $173,000 in pre-tax cash flow. So the unit economics of this business are very, very strong.
Todd, I speak to a lot of people looking for financing, and that's a number one complaint. They just can't get enough information on the franchise they're about to make a decision on. They're worried about their projections and pro formas. They don't, they can't find the numbers. So I guess with you having the earnings claim, that'll speed up the process of someone's due diligence.
Well, it does, and I frequently talk to bankers for our prospective franchisees. That our prospective franchisees give their lenders a copy of this earnings claim, and the lenders absolutely love it. We show the great stores that we have, the average stores that we have, and I think it's incumbent upon me to show a prospective franchisee our bad stores too. And in business, that's just a reality. So we actually show our franchisees the underperforming stores that we have as well. And the franchisees, lenders, or bankers are incredibly appreciative of that information, and it allows them to make a lending decision very, very quickly.
Right. Something. You kind of touched upon it, Todd, but what's the selection process you go through to become an Aaron's franchisee?
Well, the first thing that we do is when someone inquires initially on the franchise program, we really try to spend a lot of time on that initial phone call. Right. We want to make sure that we have a good understanding of who that prospective franchisee is, and make sure that they have a good understanding of what our business is all about and what the investment is to get involved. We want to make sure that they have the wherewithal. Assuming that they do, the next step is they come into Atlanta for what we call a discovery day or an orientation, and that's a day-long presentation on all the subtleties and soups and nuts and everything about our franchise program and how it works and how the business works. We give them a disclosure document at that time and send them back to their market with what we call a long profile, which is basically full financial disclosure, which they complete and return back to us. Assuming that information checks out, we do a complete background check, checking for suits, judgments, tax liens, all of that stuff.
Right.
And then we try to coordinate that 3-day baptism I talked about earlier in the stores.
Right.
And assuming someone gets through that step, the next step is to start working with them and their lenders.
That's something. And it sounds like you've had a nice variety too, Todd, of franchisees. I know there's people from the banking industry or the restaurant industry. It sounds like you've had a lot of diversity with your franchisees, so you could say.
We have, and they come from really all walks of life. Interestingly enough, they're all what I would consider to be smart money. We have a lot of investment bankers that are Aaron's franchisees.
Right.
We have a lot of CPAs that are Aaron's franchisees. We have folks that have come to us from other franchise systems out there who are attracted to this offering compared to continuing to expand with the current franchise that we have. But we range from restaurateurs to folks that own radio stations to farmers.
That's fantastic. Nice diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the cost, Todd, as far as what it costs to get into an Aaron's franchise?
Yeah. A prospective franchisee to qualify for a single unit would need to have minimally $350,000 in liquidity, and that would be cash set aside, free and clear, for the opening and the operation of that one unit. Now, whether they need all that liquidity or not depends on two primary factors. One, whether they can get a landlord to build the space out for them turnkey and roll it into the rent, or whether they give them a reduced rent and the franchisee has to build the space out themselves. So that's a big factor. And then the other is just the speed at which the business goes through the revenue ramp-up cycle. In addition to the liquidity requirements, or maybe not in addition, it's a bit of a tapestry how their personal financials are set up, but a franchisee would need to have a minimum personal tangible net worth of no less than $450,000 to qualify for the inventory financing program that we have in place.
Right. Is there an ideal location, Todd, for an Aaron's?
Interestingly enough, our business is a delivery-oriented business, not necessarily a destination-oriented business.
Right. Yeah.
In that we have trucks combing all over the communities every day, making deliveries to homes or apartment communities and picking up product for folks that want to return it for whatever reason. We would love to be at the intersection of Main and Main, but our business is such that it's okay for us to be a block off the beaten path.
Right.
Because our customer base typically has a desire for the products that we have in our stores, i.e. big-ticket consumer durable goods, but generally they can't afford to purchase those items through the more traditional retail means, so they will seek us out.
That's something.
I don't know how much time we have left, but you maybe just mention one or two characteristics, Todd, what makes a successful Aaron's franchisee?
The biggest thing that we have found that makes our franchisees successful is guys and gals that have really earned it on their own out there. Folks that for whatever reason have started their own business or worked in corporate America but have been very, very successful in corporate America. People that have earned the dollars that it takes to get involved in the franchise are is a big characteristic that we look for, and the other is the ability to follow the system. Our recipe for operating the stores is rote. As you can imagine, with all the stores that we have out there, it's pretty well documented. So we really want franchisees that are going to follow the recipe. They're going to stick to the program and passionately execute it.
And they've had a proven track record of success already. That's interesting.
Yeah, they have. And, I'll give you a quick example of that. Back when the .com deal was so big and it burst out, there were a lot of very bright, young, intelligent, and wealthy kids that were inquiring on the Aaron's franchise program.
Right. And
we said no to a lot of those guys because to be successful at Aaron's, you need to know how to collect dollars on the south side of the railroad tracks. And those guys made their money in the womb of corporate America, sitting in a cubicle cranking code, and they just didn't have the prerequisites to be successful in our program. So a guy who's earned it out there is what we're looking for.
Put in the time.
Yeah. Todd, we have like about 20 seconds. What's the best way to get in touch with you or get more information on Aaron's?
There are two ways. You can call 800-551-6015,
okay,
or you could visit our website at aaronsfranchise.com.
And I want to thank you, Todd. You've been a fantastic guest, and we're going to have you back because I think there's still more to talk about. I think you guys got a fantastic franchise opportunity.
All right, Marty, Don, thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Todd. You have a great day today.
Thank you.
Take care, Todd. Thank you again.
It's an interesting franchise concept, huh, Don?
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. Out of all the people we've had on so far, I think this is one of the largest franchises, and
I think it is.
And a lot of their franchisees are so successful. It's you talked about the earnings claim. A lot of people making money with Aaron's, and
absolutely,
still a lot of room for growth. They got 422. Well, I guess a total of over 1,000 between their corporate stores.
Yeah.
But
right. Fantastic. We'll have to have him back because there's still more I want to talk about with him, But it was a great show.
Definitely.
So you did a great job again, Don. And next week we have, I think it's, was it Badass Coffee next week? So,
yeah.
And for our listeners, go to franchiseinterviews.com. And thanks, Joe, behind the boards today. And we'll see you guys next week.
Good
job,
have a great
day, Don. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.